Ladies and gentlemen, monsters and maniacs, my name is the Pumpkin Queen, and I want to welcome you all to my castle tonight. Or well, the castle gardens actually. I put up a little fireplace so we can all get cozy while we're here. And I want to wish you all a very happy Spooktober month. And a very happy Halloween while we're at it. And because of the October month, I have a very special story in store for you tonight. So, let's get into it, shall we? Secret treats upon dark streets. It was finally Halloween. It is one of, if not, the best holiday of the year. You may think like Christmas or the lovely Valentine. But no, Halloween is where it's at. Not just for horror lovers, but for people who like to dress up and be your friends. Candy is also a plus in some ways. Anyway, tonight is especially special, because it's the first time I actually get to go out with only my friends. For the past couple of years, my parents always worried I would get into trouble if I went without them. If you knew me, you know I'm like the least likely to ever find myself in trouble. I tend to stay out of it. Even at school. Sarah and Anthony decided to join me this year. It's been a plan since last year, being my childhood friends. I was lucky to stumble upon them as it is. Most people at school have been nothing but scumbags. This year, I wanted to bring some nostalgia. Old creepypastas back in the day. Jeff the Killer, always a classic in my book. He was simple, and only one of a few I could wear a jacket with. If your parents didn't make you wear a jacket during Halloween, you were one of the lucky ones. As was about to be finished dressing up for the part, I heard my mum calling me downstairs. "Joseph, your friends are here," she called out. I simply replied, "I'll be down in a minute." I put on the jacket, carried 2 knives, obviously fake, and the other is for protection, and went downstairs. My smile quickly changed to confusion as I looked at my friends' costumes. Sarah wore an interesting one for the most part. A pumpkin for a hat and a purple shirt that dripped down to her knees and legs covered by black leggings. Anthony, on the other hand, I could exactly tell what he was. Some kind of black bird? He had fake wings on his arms and the head of a crow or raven? His shirt said sleep as well. I don't exactly know if I could after seeing it. "What exactly are you guys supposed to be?" I asked. "I am the glorious Pumpkin Queen," Sarah said with confidence.
"I'm the Raven of Dreams,"
Anthony said. I looked even more confused. "Explain what that is?" I asked.
"You know, that guy who does those narrations? I showed you him before."
He tried to explain. I started to understand who he was referring to. My confusion then went to disappointment. Don't mean to be rude, but I honestly think he'd be more disappointed to see that than be, well, happy about it, I said.
"You're just jealous that I have a better costume,"
he said with a slightly angry tone. Before I could speak any further though, my mom stepped in. "It's about time you all went out and got some candy, right?" she asked with a warm smile. We all nodded and let ourselves out, walking down the streets. Kids of all kinds could be seen in many different costumes, like classic monsters, and 2 newer characters from shows or movies. It was honestly amazing to see this cast and most people I've seen on Halloween having our nice conversations. For simple jokes to interesting questions. Throughout the night, though, it eventually got to a point that there was barely anyone out. Looking at my watch, I realized it was nearly midnight. Anthony and Sarah knew they had to leave. Knew they had to leave themselves, despite not wanting to. I wish Halloween didn't have to end, Sarah complained. I feel you on that one, I added.
Luckily, Halloween always comes around every year,
Anthony pointed out. Yeah, but only once a year, which is the worst part, I explained. Though spookiness will always be around, Sarah said with a smile. Yeah, true. Anyway, we should split. I'll see you guys tomorrow, I yelled. The two nodded before walking off themselves. Seeing them walking made me sad a bit, but at least I knew they would be alright. Walking down the sidewalk, each step I took was crushing the leaves beneath them. As much as I hate to admit it, walking alone at night didn't feel exactly comfortable. In fact, it felt scary just seeing the shadows. Without focusing too much upon it, I kept walking. Then something caught my eye. It was a good few yards away, but I could see it clearly. In the streetlight, there was a colorful-looking object, gleaming amongst the light. A few more steps forward, I realized it was a piece of candy, still wrapped within its wrapper. It was green and pink. Some yellow was mixed in as well. Looking around, I didn't see any kids around on who it could belong to. Without a second through afterwards, I picked it up. However, the sound of light wind that moved throughout the streets stopped almost intently. Looking up, I was caught off guard by where I was. Everything was grey and felt lifeless. I couldn't see further than a few blocks down. The only thing that had color was the candy in my hand. I knew this wasn't home, but I don't know what this could even be. Walking around, the leaves under my feet didn't even make sound as I crushed them. I didn't know what was going on, but I needed to head home. Continuing forward into the dense fog, I found myself back where I was before. It was the same spot on the street, same houses, same everything, except the candy that I picked up from before. This didn't make sense, and left me baffled. Through before I could think much longer, I saw something moving, coming from the fog. It looked like a person, at least from a distance. Coming out of the fog, the person wore everything grey and black. What really had me confused was the fact that the person wore a mask. A plain, white mask. Not even holes were in it. They kept walking forward towards me without a sound. They didn't say anything, but continued to walk forward. If they had any idea where I was, I would be them. Cautiously walking towards them, I spoke. "Do you know where we are?" I asked. The person stopped and looked at me. They cocked their head to the left, almost as if they were confused, then walked again, but slower, as if they were analyzing me. I felt a chill come down my spine, as they were right in front of me. They crouched down and looked at me with the plain white mask. They put their right hand at my face. It felt like ice touching my skin, and even worse, felt stuck onto my face. So warm, so pretty, they stuttered. What? I panicked. They went inside, as they looked at me before in a confused tone. I spoke. "You're not wearing a mask," they said quietly. Why would I wear a mask? I said, backing away. They still stayed in the same position. Even their hand still was raised up to where my face was. They kept mumbling the same sentence over and over again. You're not wearing a mask, they said. They began grabbing onto their mask as they kept saying it. It slowly was cracking, pieces falling to the floor, when it eventually shattered. The face underneath was so much more horrifying. There was no eyes, no nose, just a monstrous mouth upon a face. It looked at me directly, as I was frozen in fear. No mask, it yelled in a terrifying voice. Without any hesitation, I quickly ran straight for the fog. If I had a chance to hide myself, it was to quickly get to the other side. It ran towards me, on all four despite being a human body. It moved abnormally. Its hands clawed as it ran, leaving red marks of blood on the ground, as if it were breaking the nails upon them, screeching horrifically. It eventually disappeared within the fog as I entered. Reaching the other side, I saw a tree that was able to hide my body from the other side. I quickly ran behind it and waited, taking a peek for a quick second. I saw one of its claws piercing through the fog. I quickly turned back and held my breath. After a few seconds, I looked silently above me. My eyes widened at what I saw. Claws slowly creeping above me. I tried, taking a step back before it launched itself forward. Stumbling back a bit, I tried to stab its face with my knife, only to fail because it was the fake one. Although hitting it hard as I could caused it to move back, as it screeched in pain, I tried running more, only to trip on my feet. Turning back, it kept crawling towards me, mumbling under its breath. No mask. I only had one last defense, that being my real knife. I threw it, landing in its right shoulder. It only angered it more as it yanked it out. As it was about to pounce on me, I tried covering my face to protect it as best as I could. I screamed as it jumped, only to hear the sound of a gun blast within my ears ringing. I looked over and saw it laying on the street floor, a pool of blood surrounding it as its body continued to twitch. Looking on the other side, a dark figure walked up to me, only for it to knock me out hard with a single hit. After waking up, my eyes finally adjusted to the light. I found myself in the pure white room. I was tied to a chair that I was sitting in. In front of me was a man smoking a cigar, and white table in between us. He looked at me carefully before finally speaking. So, that took you long enough to wake up? He said. Confused, I began to panic. Where am I? The man blew some smoke. You're in a place that you won't be leaving anytime soon. Especially all that you've witnessed and survived. I can't say that I like that it's come to this, but it's what we have to do, he explained. What is going to happen to me? I asked worriedly. All I know is that you won't be seeing your parents probably ever again, he said. Hearing those words, my heart began to sink. Was this really happening? Why are you keeping me here? I yelled. I want to see my parents. The man just shook his head. We can't do that. If we do, everything is at stake, higher than your own life. If word were to get out in what you've seen and experienced, more lives will be at higher risk, he said calmly, while giving a serious look. Tears started to flow down my face. As I was facing the harsh reality, I won't be seeing my parents or my friends again. Why, of all people, did this happen to me? It hurts even more inside. What are you going to do with me? I said weakly. The man then smudged his cigar on the table, causing it to go out. He then cleared his throat. I'll give you a choice. One where you either try to escape this place, or one where you won't risk the lives of your parents or friends. I'll give you this, because I've done the same. I've lost my friends to one of these things too. Not too long ago, in fact. He said with sorrow in his eyes. So, I stay here, while everyone I know could be killed. Is that the choice you're giving me? I asked, while tears were still in my eyes. He nodded slightly, without a word. I'll stay, I said weakly, as more tears began to drip off my face. A good choice. I promise that when this is over, you'll see your family again, he said. I began to cry upon the table, which gave him a message to leave me be. The man then sat up and went to the only door within the room. As he opened it, I asked him one last question. Hey, I said, what's your name? He turned to me with a straight face. The name is Ethan. Thank you all so much for listening to tonight's story. Now I'd like to take a moment to thank all of my Patreons who helped make this channel possible. Thank you, CoolScout09 and Lady Nevermore, for all your help and support. You guys are amazing.